the Clemson Tigers, the reigning college football national champions. Trevor Lawrence, arguably the most NFL-ready quarterback we've ever seen as a true sophomore in college football history. Clemson very well might be on to a back-to-back national championship run and still are the undisputed #1 team in all of college football. But the decade-long question that unfortunately we will never physically in real life get answered: how would a college football national champion fare in the NFL? A college team in professional football, how the heck would it work out? And today we finally give your question an answer in Madden 20 as we see how the heck the Clemson Tigers would do if they were in the NFL. Yes, this is Mr. Dabo Swinney. He looks a little bit different, but it's still technically Dabo Swinney, as today the Clemson Tigers has entered the NFL, and we are going to see how many wins the Clemson Tigers, the reigning national champions of college football, would do if they were an NFL team. Now, the team they are replacing for today's video is the Cleveland Browns, so it's going to be interesting to see how the heck they do today. But guys, I'm freaking excited. Hope you guys are as well. And if you are, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you are new, and turn on the notification bell if you haven't. Also, if you have any other video ideas you'd like to see, let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you'd like to see me do this once again with Alabama, with their new roster from this season, with that sick wide receiver core, arguably the best wide receiver core in the history of college football, if it's past 2,000 likes, that video will come out next week on the channel. But with that said, my dudes, I'm so freaking excited. We've already seen how the Clemson Tigers would do against the Miami Dolphins in a head-to-head matchup, and I will leave a link to that video in the description box below so you can watch that if you haven't seen that. But today is not just a head-to-head matchup. It's the Clemson Tigers taking on a full 16-game NFL slate and see if they can shock the experts, shock the naysayers, and see if they can actually make a playoff run. Now, first question of today, dudes, I want you to let me know in the comment section below, if Clemson was in the NFL, how do you think they would do? Do you think they'd go 0-16, or they actually surprise some people and actually be able to muster out 1, 2, or 3 wins? But today we will see what Madden 20 thinks. Now, the way I do have to go about making these rosters and making them as accurate as possible is comparing what a normal first round or second or third round draft pick is rated in the Madden franchise, and taking the players from the Clemson that are projected to be high draft picks and kind of making their ratings based on how they're performing in real life, how they performed in the past, and in comparison, how players that perform like them in college actually are rated going into the NFL in the Madden franchise. So you might disagree with these. In the Clemson video from earlier in the week when we played the Dolphins, you guys said I needed to lower the ratings a little bit, so that's what we did today. So they're a little bit lower than what you did see last week. But the teams overall is something you didn't see. And Clemson actually comes in at a 70 overall. 70 overall, 72 offense, 69 defense, and I do think that's a little bit too high when you consider what the ratings of this team actually is. There's not a player over 80 overall, so I'm not sure how we got a 70, but 70 overall is still bad, but I think that's about right. I mean, you think about it, if we were in an NCAA football game, Clemson's roster would probably be like a 98, 99 overall. And I think in comparison to what an NFL team is, you take 30 overall off a college football team and put them in an NFL game, I think that's not too far-fetched. But looking at the roster as a whole, in comes Trevor Lawrence, the highest overall player in the entire team at a 79 overall. Will be the for sure 2021 NFL #1 overall draft pick, as this man is one of the most NFL-ready quarterbacks I've ever seen this young. What is he, 20 years old? He would probably, that'd be so tough. Another question, if Tua and Trevor Lawrence was coming out in the same exact draft, who would be the #1 overall quarterback pick? Obviously, this upcoming draft's more than likely, like 95% sure going to be Tua, but Trevor Lawrence is only a true sophomore, so he can't come out this year. Comes out the next year. But if they were hypothetically in the same draft, who do you think would be the #1 pick? But Trevor Lawrence is the starting quarterback, obviously at a 79 overall, highest overall player in the entire team. Running back Travis Etienne Jr. at a 75 overall. He was a 79 in my last video, dropped him down to a 75. I think that still might be a little bit too high, but I think that's fair. Behind him, Lynn J. Dixon and Michael Dukes. At the fullback position, we don't have a fullback. At wide receiver, it's an extremely talented wide receiver core here at Clemson. Justin Ross, a future first-round pick at a 77 overall. T. Higgins just as well. Probably another future first-round pick at a 76. Cornell Powell at a 71. DeAndre Overton at a 69. And Joseph Nata at a 67. Tight end position, we have J.C. Chalk at a 71. Backing him up is Luke Price and Jalen Lay, but it's 69 overalls respectively. Now, the offensive line got a big nerf from the prior ratings. At a 68 overall, left tackle Tremaine Ankrum. At left guard, we do have John Simpson, a 70 overall. At center, we have Sean Pollard at a 70 overall as well. Right guard, Gage Cervinka at a 68 overall. At right tackle, we have Blake Vincent at a 67. Now moving on to the Clemson Tigers defense. At left end, we have Justin Foster at a 69 with Logan Rudolph behind him at a 67. At right end, we have Xavier Thomas at a 70 overall with Justin Mescal behind him at a 66. Now starting defensive tackle is Niles Pickney at a 70 overall. Behind him, Jordan Williams 67 and Tyler Davis at a 62. Now the Clemson Tigers linebacker core on the left side, Isaiah Simmons, one of the higher, I think he is the highest overall defender on this team at a 77 overall. A future first round draft pick, will probably be a top 15 if not a top 10 pick, comes in at a 77. Behind him, Mike Jones Jr. at a 65. Middle linebacker James Skalski at a 70 overall. And then you have Jake Venables behind him. Isn't that Brent Venables? Isn't he the defensive coordinator? Is that his son? Interesting. But anyways, he's a 68 overall. On the right side, we have Chad Smith at a 69 and Brandon Spector behind him at a 63. Cornerbacks for the Clemson program, AJ Terrell at a 72 overall, Darion Kendrick at a 68, Mario Goodrich at a 68, and Andrew Booth Jr. at a 61. Starting free safety, we have Tanner Moose at a 69 overall. Behind him, Nolan Turner at a 66. Strong safety, we have Kevon Wallace at a 69, and Denzel Johnson behind him at a 66. Starting kicker, BT Potter at a 66. Starting punter, Will Spears at a 65 overall. Now, with that said, my dudes, it is now time to simulate a regular season with the Clemson Tigers. Now, keep in mind, too, dudes, like, this overall can change. They can go way up in overall because the players are all relatively young, so they should be able to progress. But, guys, once again, the 2 questions in the comment section. Let me know how you think this team would do in real life. How would Clemson do record-wise if they were actually in the NFL? But in this simulation, it's going to be completely different because overall is a big factor in whether or not a team gets wins or not. So I'm going to say in the simulation, like just based off of Madden, they might actually be able to muster out 2 or 3 wins. Now, would they be able to muster out 2 or 3 wins in real life? Probably not, in my opinion. This is the only way we'd ever actually be able to get this put into fruition. And guys, look at it. They didn't go 0-16. They beat the Bengals 24-17. Obviously, as you see, they didn't make the playoffs. But Madden 20 thinks the Clemson Tigers could beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I know the Bengals haven't won a game in real life, but do you think that's a possibility? So the team boosted up quite a bit, up to a 74 overall, 76 offense, 72 defense. We end up winning 6 games. So according to Madden 20, the Clemson Tigers could win a total of 6 freaking games. So there's no way we had the worst record in the league. The Seahawks had the best record at 13-3, Ravens and Jags at 12-4. Now, worst record in the league ends up, wow, the Raiders, Panthers, Dolphins, Vikings, Bucks, Cardinals, Redskins, and Giants, all according to Madden 20, are worse teams than the Clemson Tigers. Now, I do want to see individually what teams did the Clemson Tigers beat on their schedule. So in the regular season, we beat the Tennessee Titans. So the actual Cleveland Browns couldn't beat the Titans, but the Clemson Tigers could. And they lost a ton in a row. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. They beat the Denver Broncos 34-20 with 2 touchdowns. Lost the Bills, Steelers, beat the Dolphins, which I understand. They beat the Steelers, lost to the Bengals, beat the Cardinals, lost to the Ravens, and beat the Bengals as well. So they really didn't beat any teams that you could consider very good. But they do win 6 games, dude. That's so freaking awesome. Really quick, I do want to see how the team does look overall-wise across the board. So you've got big upgrades. Trevor Lawrence, he's probably in the, he's at 83 overall already. That's insane. Higgins up to a 79. Running back up to a 77. I know I apparently pronounced his name wrong, but you guys get the point. Moving on to the defensive side of things, did anybody really progress? You had Simmons up to a 78. That's really all. I mean, some guys went from like a 70 to a 75. Nothing too crazy on the defensive side of things, but crazy enough, Trevor Lawrence already up to an 83 overall quarterback. Now, also something we have to see is the statistics. We had the 18th best offense in the NFL, and defensively the 16th best defense. So about mid-table for offense and defense from a college team placed into the NFL. Sam Darnold wins the MVP. it looks like there was no Clemson Tigers in the top 10 of the MVP race. Now, if we look at them statistically, Trevor Lawrence, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, only sacked 27 times. That's insane. That's normally lower than what I normally see in simulations, much less when the quarterback is being protected by a college offensive line. Now, looking at the running attack here, apparently it's Travis Etienne. It's not Travis Etienne, it's Travis Etienne. So now I can see why I made you guys cringe. But anyways, he had 9 touchdowns on the ground, 800 yards, 3.3 yards per carry for a running back, a college running back, having a college offensive line blocking for him is not too bad. But Trevor Lawrence as well added 220 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Our leading receiver for the Clemson Tigers, Justin Ross, 912 yards, had 5 touchdowns. Then he had tight end J.C. Chalk lead the team with 8 touchdowns through the air. Now defensively, we had James Skalski with 110 total tackles on the year. And you had Xavier Thomas with 6.5 sacks and Isaiah Simmons with 6 on the year. And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 picks on the year collectively. As absolutely insane as you see Mr. Dabo Swinney. He's already higher than Cliff Kingsbury and Zach Taylor on the legacy leaderboard. Now, I guess with that, we just go ahead and see who ended up winning the Super Bowl in the simulation. But guys, once again, according to Madden 20, if the Clemson Tigers were in the NFL, they'd get a total of 6 wins. It's up being the top 2 teams in the league statistically or standing-wise in the league in this simulation. That's the Seahawks and Jaguars. But last but not least, who is going to win the Super Bowl for today's video? And that is going to be the Seahawks in a blowout, 31-9. So guys, hopefully you did enjoy today's experiment, and if you did, make sure to smash that like button. Once again, 2,000 likes on today's video, and the Alabama video, just like this one, will be released next week. Make sure to subscribe if you are new, and turn on the notification bell if you haven't. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. God bless, and peace.